Jöreget kívánok, hogy vagy jó? Start of another day, and I've got to do my little habit here, if only to drive Skip Smith crazy. Hmm. Boy, that tastes good. You know, what would you rather have? Would you rather be watching a video with me going, after I sip a cup of coffee, or Skip Smith, doing something like this? No, I think you'd rather like the than the that Skip Smith does. But speaking of Skip Smith, Skip, you can turn this video off right now. Just turn it off and go back to watching your videos about RVs. You're not going to like this video, okay? So just turn it off now. I'm just telling you in advance. Turn it off now and go watch something else. But start of another day here, and yeah, I got to tell you, the bed here. Oh my God, the bed is just incredible. Speaking of Skip and Sue, Skip and Sue told me the best bed they ever slept in their life was in a Holiday Inn Express somewhere in, I think I want to say Charleston. They said, I think it was Charleston area. Of all places, they slept in a Holiday Inn Express, and they said it was the best bed of their life. And I don't know if this is the best bed of my life, but boy, I got to tell you, it is comfortable, and it's rather quiet also here. So I slept like a bug in a rug, and I got to be honest with you, the whole sleeping alone thing is just it's so much nicer to be. It would be so much nicer to be spooning, so to speak. But anyway. So start of another day, and not too much on my mind. You can see I'm just sitting here doing my work. This is my workstation, and it's ideal. It's absolutely ideal. It's perfectly quiet, and I'm really facing a struggling challenge right now with a client. I have a client that is both it sells transmissions nationally, but they also have like 15 local locations, like right in the center of the heartland of the United States, if you will. Nebraska, Kansas City, Omaha, or not Omaha, Iowa, and Missouri or something. But anyway, the thing that I'm not challenged with, but the thing that I'm working on right now rather is when people hit their website, detecting where they are located, what zip code are they in. Interestingly enough, I know that when somebody hits my website, I know the zip code that they're in, and what have you. But anyway, the what was I going to say? I'm losing my train of thought. I'm thinking ahead of myself. I'm thinking, if what could I do with that information? And right away, I start thinking to myself, well, gee, you know what? I could have a web page, kind of like a Patreon page or something like that, and somehow or another, I could record, the thumbs up or the thumbs down or something, and then I would know the city. I would know the city, and then I would know who the culprits are as far as the thumbs up or thumbs down. But anyway, it's just not that I would ever do that, but that's the way that my mind works. I'll be talking about one thing and thinking about another. So anyway, hmm, I stopped and I thought I would indulge myself a little bit, and I picked up some. See, this is like a promotion, or this is like a sponsor, right? I could do the whole Skip Smith thing. Today's show is brought to you by Flora Biscotti chocolate chip, all natural, twice oven baked. Biscottis or something like that. That's what Skip Smith is all about. Skip Smith is all about, it's getting sponsors and all that kind of stuff. How much money can I make? And I'm more about making the world a better place. You see, so that's the big difference between Skip Smith and me. I'm more about making the world a better place, and Skip Smith is all about how much money can I make. So, Sorry to eat in front of you. Anyway, so I'm here for the week, and I'm debating. I'm just content sitting here in this nice condo. I don't necessarily need to go out and walk on the beach, although I'll probably do that. I don't need to necessarily go out anywhere or do anything. I'm just content in the peace and quiet of this condo, and just the ability to work uninterrupted. From early morning to late night. So it's a very, very nice opportunity for me to do that. And I need to give a shout out to some people from yesterday that commented on my video titled the Green Book, and the Green Book being the Bible. And I thought to share a little story with you about about my thoughts on the Bible. And those of you that have been following me for years know, probably I've probably shared this story, but for if only for the benefit of those that don't know it, I'll share this story with you. For years I went through struggling with life, living hand to mouth and what have you. And that was pretty much from about the time I left the military at 21 till about the time that I found the Lord at about 29. My life was just one struggle after another. It really was, sleeping in my car and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I became born again, that my life did a 180. And the interesting thing about that is yesterday I did a video on the on my Green Book, the Bible that you see sitting here on my table. And to give you some background, I grew up in a large Catholic family, a devout Catholic family on the outskirts of Cleveland, Ohio. And if I had a nickel for every time I heard something like, "As long as you live in this house, you're living by our rules, and you're going to go to church on Sunday, and you're going to go to Sunday school, and you're going to do all this and do all that," and it was all well and good. I had for the most part, I had a pretty great upbringing. But the Bible, when I was growing up as a youngin in the Cleveland area, there was always a Bible in the house. Always a Bible in the house. And it was a big, thick Bible, about this thick. It was probably about that thick. And it was like yay big, something like that. And you would open it up and you couldn't understand anything. You try to flip through the pages and you try to read it and make heads or tails of what it was saying. And you just couldn't understand it for the life of yourself. But I used to enjoy looking at the pictures. Our particular Bible had pictures of camels and whatever in the Middle East, Israel probably, but our Bible had pictures in it, and I used to like to look at the pictures, but I couldn't make heads or tails of the text. And anyway, long story short, as I started to grow older, and I was living my life, I used to always feel comforted in knowing that I thought, gee, when I die and I go up to heaven, and and the Lord is waiting for me, and He says, well, how'd the life go? Did you live your life in accordance with the Bible or something like that? And I would always have the alibi of saying, God, I just couldn't understand what it said. It just was all gibberish to me. I didn't know what you were trying to tell me. I mean, the Bible was just all gibberish to me. I couldn't understand it, and I thought, the Lord being the good guy that He is, He'd probably say, okay, I understand. Come on in anyway. Something like that. You know, that's I went through most of my life. I went through most of my 20s thinking to myself that just because I couldn't understand what the Bible said, I mean, how could God hold me accountable for anything, you know, if I couldn't understand what I was supposed to be doing and what have you. But anyway, long story short, I think I've said that already. Long story short is shortly after I found the Lord at about 29, I walked into I walked into a church. It was I'm trying to think of it was Calvary. I walked into a Calvary Chapel or Calvary something or another. It was a born again church, or a non-denominational church, perhaps is the better word. And they had these little New Testament free Bibles at the entrance when you walk in. And this was oh, I don't know, probably about a week or two after after I had become born again. And so I walk into this church, and just for whatever reason, I pick up this free little Bible as I'm walking in. And I sat down in this little chapel. It wasn't a big church, but I sat down in this little chapel. And the pastor, his name was Gary Weatherly, Weatherly, Gary Weatherly. And as I sat there that Sunday morning, the words that he was saying just resonated with me. Yeah, it was very, very interesting. The sermon that this Gary Weatherly was giving was just every word that was coming out of his mouth was just really, really having an impact with me. Anyway, so as I was sitting there that Sunday morning, I picked up the Bible. That was, you know, the New Testament. I picked up the New Testament. And as I picked up the New Testament, you know, on the front it said New International Version, New International Version. And I remember reading a little bit about the New International Version, but yeah, you can look into the background. I guess a bunch of people, a bunch of religious scholars or whatever, convened in Chicago and went through the Bible, the King James, or that big Bible sitting on my house or whatever. They went through that big Bible and they rewrote it in plain English. Anyway, so as I sat there in that church on that Sunday morning, I picked up that Bible. And I started to read. I was just curious. And right away, I knew something was different. And the thing that was different was that I could understand what the hell it said. Can I say that about the Bible? What the hell it said? I don't know. Anyway, I could understand what the hell the Bible said. And right away, you know, it didn't take me long to think, uh-oh, now that I have a Bible, and I understand what it says, I don't have an excuse. I don't have an excuse. And I put the Bible down right away because I was a little bit afraid. I was afraid that, you know, I was afraid when I picked that Bible up, I was afraid of a couple of things. Number one, I didn't necessarily have the confidence in myself that, you know, now that I didn't have an excuse, I didn't know that I would be capable or willing to live my life the way the Bible said to live my life. And that scared me, and I put the Bible down. Never picked it up there. Yeah, I just put it down. I didn't want to open it because now I didn't have an excuse. And to be quite honest with you, it frightened me. Having a Bible that I could understand, it frightened me. And anyway, I took that Bible home with me, and it sat there in my apartment at the time. It sat there in the apartment for a little while, and then finally, I overcame my fear, and I picked the Bible up one day, and I started to read it. The New Testament, mind you, New International Version. I picked the Bible up one day, and I started to read it. And I started at the beginning, and I progressively worked my way through the New Testament. And what was so interesting to me, so amazing to me, was that There wasn't anything bad in it. There was nothing. There was nothing bad in it. There was nothing. There was nothing jaw dropping. There was nothing that frightened, frightened the hell out of me. Well, maybe, but hey, I keep saying that word hell. But there was nothing about the Bible that frightened me. It was just all common sense stuff. Be nice to people. Be kind and be forgiving and be loving and all this stuff. It was just it was just a lot of common sense is what it was. It was just a lot of common sense. And I read that Bible. I read the New Testament, all the way through. And I'll be honest with you that the last, what do they call it? The last book, the book of Revelation, that kind of loses me a little bit. Yeah. The book of Revelation kind of loses me a little bit. Even to this day, I try to read the book of Revelation and make heads or tails of it, but it's a little bit challenging for me. But the rest of the Bible is the New Testament at least, and I'm sure parts of the Old Testament. I haven't really read the Old Testament very much, but the New Testament. If there were ever an instruction manual for how to live your life, if there were ever an instruction manual for how to live your life, the New Testament, is really incredible. And yesterday in yesterday in the comment section, there was a comment from I don't know your name because it's all abbreviated something or another, but yesterday there was a comment from somebody that said my discussion made her think of the book of James, and she threw out a challenge to me to read the entire book of James. It's not a very long book, chapter, book, whatever. She threw out a challenge to me to read the book of James for a month, every day for a month, and it'll change my life. And I let curiosity get the better of me. I came in last night. I was a little bit tired. I came in last night, and I had brought the Bible in with me from the car, and it was sitting there on the countertop. And I thought, the book of James. What is the book of James? And I opened up the Bible to the actual book of James. And again, it's really short. And the little preface on this says, James, a brother of Jesus, writes this letter to urge Christians to express their faith in daily living. He reminds them of what Jesus said, especially in the Sermon on the Mount. As you read this book, ask yourself whether others can see by what you do and say that you believe in Jesus. And I thought, that's interesting. And I looked at the book, and the book is not, again, it's only about, I don't know, 3 pages or something like that. But anyway, as I started kind of reading some of this stuff, and you know what, I'm going to take you up on that challenge. I'm going to read the book of James every day for a month, and I'll let you know whether or not it changes my life. But one of the things here that kind of relates to my own personal situation, those of you that follow me regularly, you'll know this, and it's boasting about tomorrow. The James advice on boasting about tomorrow. He said, now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why, you don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast and brag. All such boasting is evil. Anyone then who knows the good he ought to do and doesn't do it sins. So, that's just one section of this. And then they have, that's boasting about tomorrow. Another section is warning to rich oppressors, the prayer of faith, patience and suffering, uh, submit yourself to God, uh, taming the tongue. That's a good section. Taming the tongue, faith and deeds, and listening and doing, what have you. So I'm going to take the take you up on the challenge and read the book of James every day for 1 month, and I'll we'll see. Maybe you'll recognize a transformation in me from one month to the next. But as the saying goes, we will see. This book was given to me on the 28th of June, 1993. 1993, the 28th of June, and it was given to me by somebody named Holly Hampton. Holly Hampton lived or lives in Waldorf, Astoria. She lives in Waldorf, Maryland. Waldorf, Maryland, I believe. And back in June 1993, I was driving across the country in a little Ford Festiva, and I had white shoe polish on the back window that said "Across America on a Smile," and I wanted to see what a smile would get me in the what a smile would get me across the United States. Meaning, just be friendly to people. I wanted to see, just by being friendly to people, what that would get you across as I traveled across the United States. And little did I know at that time, that I was about to embark on, travels all across the world, and be doing, YouTube videos and what have you. But I came across the Hamptons. I think it was Bev. Bev was the mother's name, and Jerry Hampton, who owned an auto repair shop. Interestingly enough, maybe he still does. But the Hamptons lived in Waldorf, and I met them at a gas station. And I don't know. We started engaging in conversation, and then the next thing I know, Jerry Hampton had my car in his shop, and he was rotating the tires for me and changing the oil and doing all that kind of stuff. And I actually stayed with the Hamptons for a couple nights. And Holly, I had a bit of a crush on her. She actually came to Cleveland to visit me. I went on to Cleveland that summer, and Holly, boy, I was smitten with her. But I think she was a lawyer, if I'm not mistaken. But Holly gave me this book, and she said, "May God bless you and keep you all the days of your life. May you be humble and a servant unto God, who has given you a second chance. Listen. It's wonderful to tell others, but first we must listen and hear, and God will give us the right words to say." So anyway, wherever Holly Hampton is out there in the world right now, it would be nice if she knew that I still carry this book with me. But anyway, with all that being said, I need to get on with my day and let you do the same. All right. So take good care, and as my dad would say, I love you all, and make sure that you go out and get yourself some Flora Biscotti chocolate chip. Okay. So anyway, there you go. Take good care. All right. Okay. Bye bye.